Everyone, Glenn Sanford here, founder of eXp Realty, and today on the Expansion Podcast, I have Michael Scanlon. He's actually out of the Chicago land area. Been in real estate for a relatively short period of time. I think 5 years is what I have in my notes here, but literally is putting up some major numbers, kicking butt and taking names in Chicago. Has built a great team, and it's gonna be great kind of learning what's been working for him, and maybe how you might look at sort of approaching some of these same approaches to add to your business. So, Michael, thanks for jumping on, and great to connect. I don't know if we've met in person yet, but if not, great to meet you.
Yeah, no, great to officially meet you as well. I've seen you at ExpCon, but you're a busy man, so I never want to bother you. But super happy to be chatting.
Awesome. So you've been in business. I say 5 years because that's in the business. That's about when people start to actually get success in the business. Having sort of stubbed their toes and kind of figure out what doesn't work until they start to figure out what does work. What's been your journey? How have you done? And obviously, how did you get to where you're at, selling, hundreds of homes a year, and building a good sized team?
Yeah, it's funny because I never really intended to sell real estate. I wanted to be an investor and just joined EXP on the chance that I might do a couple deals here or there and just do mostly deals for myself, and realized pretty quickly that there was a couple of different niches that I could attack. One, I work with a lot of investors, 2 to 4 unit and, the like, and single family investors as well. But having been an investor and having my own portfolio, just realized pretty quickly that there's not a lot of people who know how to mentor new buyers on those types of properties. So that was one aspect, and that's been a large part of my career. But in terms of how I expanded so quickly, a lot of it came from relationships. And I try to tell, I'm a mentor with EXP as well. I try to push being relationship oriented and just making as many connections as you possibly can. I can't tell you the amount of people that I've met at EXPCon through workplace that, when they have questions, I have answers. When they offer referrals, I say yes. I say yes to basically everything. I think, my first 2 years in real estate, I probably put 15 to 20,000 miles per year on my car, just driving everywhere. It didn't matter if it was $1 million or $80,000. I was just driving everywhere, doing business for everyone. And that eventually proliferates. Somebody refers you their cousin, and then their cousin has a friend that wants to buy, and then that friend has friends that want to sell. And so it's just been, that kind of process of creating my own leads through the relationships that I garnered basically all through EXP, and, ways that EXP has connected me to other agents.
Oh, very, very cool. So would you kind of shared that that's now a good portion of your business comes in through that kind of referral relationship. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, we do tons of referrals, but a lot of the business now has come from people that we've met through the referrals. So John refers me to his cousin Mike, and then Mike refers me to people because Mike's just a home seller, and then Mike has friends that live in the area that also want to sell. And if I hadn't taken that first referral and given up to 25-30%, I would have never gotten the additional deals after that. And now there's so many agents that I've done referrals for that continue to come back and give me new referrals. And so I've always, again, pushed for being very relationship oriented. I've made good relationships with, people within EXP, within, our revenues department, within institutional seller services. And we're doing, a lot of business for those departments at EXP. And a lot of that was just founded in the fact that before those places even existed within EXP, those are relatively new departments in the last couple of years, I had formed relationships with those people and just was always willing to help when there were, a couple referrals here and there in those departments. And so I've just pushed for every avenue of your life, whether it's your sphere of influence, whether it's other agents, whether it's, people higher up at EXP. If you have a chance to create a relationship, do it, because it turns into so much more.
Right. So, So when you think about your business, how and I'm making a guess here, but based on how you described it, it feels like you've got um, we'll call it a customer journey or consumer journey that you've mapped out for various different personas, and you've figured out a way to build that into your team. Is that fair?
Yeah. I think we've got a couple of different avenues. Again, we've got the referrals. We've got the lot of relationships that we've developed with investors. And investors are a great niche because they continue to buy over and over again as long as you get them good deals and you make sure that they're protected. Like I said, the institutional seller services and revenues department. Um,
Right.
we've gotten to a point where there's a lot of deals that are coming from stuff that was originally not organic, but has now started to become organic in a sense.
Now, how big is your team? How is it structured?
So we are at 29 now, mostly in the Chicagoland area, but we do have a couple in Indiana and then one in Florida. So I'm licensed in all three states, and so we've tried to, carefully expand our footprint as much as we can without going too much over the top. I want to be a bigger team. I know that there are some huge teams at EXP, and eventually I want to get there, but I didn't want to grow faster than I could handle. And so, yeah, we've tried to expand into areas that we can get leads for our team members. That's one of the biggest things is, we teach them how to be agents, and I try to teach them things that I've done, and that's all great, but I still want to be able to provide them leads. So yeah, for now we're a pretty heavily lead based team where we give leads to our team members and then we teach them how to work them.
Okay. Now you mentioned obviously revenues, internal referrals from agents, and your investor community. Um, what what's your primary lead generation strategy? Is that it, or are you do you have websites? Are you using social media? Are you doing PPC marketing? Are you grabbing Zillow leads? What's that look like?
So it's a mix of three things. One of them is the revenues and institutional services. We're doing a couple hundred listings team in Chicago for some dispositions. The other is referrals. Now that's led to a good amount of business, but it trickles. It's here and there. It's not consistent, but it's relatively common that we'll get referrals. And then the biggest one, other than those two, has been Bigger Pockets, and Bigger Pockets shows up to EXPCon quite regularly. uh, been a featured agent. Myself and my partner Jake have been featured agents for them since they started their featured agent program, which they now push at EXPCon. We were there first, and we've been able to take leads from them, and it's a really good lead source for investors. A lot of high intent, and those investors, we pay for those leads. They're not back end referral based, and those will turn into sometimes nothing. And sometimes, we've had investors that come in and we pay $60 for a lead. And then 3 months later, they've closed on $6 million worth of commercial property. It's, hit or miss at times, but over time, that has been probably our most successful lead generation source. The other stuff, there's some amazing agents with marketing, with PPC, with SEO. There's so many ways that you can attack this industry, and that's one of the things that I've been humbled by, because I don't know a lot of what I don't know. And it always amazes me to hear other agents who do things really, really well, that eventually someday I hope to add to my repertoire. But for right now, it's been just grinding it out through those three sources.
Okay. No, yeah, no, that's great. And then, what's your infrastructure look like? What's your operations team look like? And the folks behind the scenes.
Those are some of the most important people. So I laugh because we had our admin out of town last week, and I feel like we were going to fall apart. We have a full-time admin, and then we have a full-time inside sales associate who cold calls for us. But more than that, organizes our Bigger Pockets leads, speaks to our Bigger Pockets leads, And those are just the glue that holds everything together. I feel like nothing would get done, especially without our admin, because there's so much day-to-day transaction coordination. There's so much paperwork when you're doing, high volume, like our team is fortunate to be doing. And
Right.
so that is the backbone of everything that we're doing is those two.
Okay. Awesome. Um, so um, you mentioned that the different sources of lead gen. How are you organizing that? What CRM are you using?
We use Lofty, which was formerly Chime. We switched over to it about a year and a half ago, and we also noticed soon after that EXP had adopted it as one of theirs. I think it's super powerful. It has a lot of features of different things, like MailChimp, for example. It has basically all the features of MailChimp, but built into Lofty. There's dialers in there. There's smart plans. There's so many ways that we can track what our clients are doing, what they're seeing, if they're opening emails. It provides a lead score for them. And so that would, we're probably at 36,000 clients in our database at this point. And so that is absolutely paramount. We would be completely lost without that. And I think that has been one of the biggest tools for, organizing our client base, especially with investors. When we get, pre-market, off-market deals, sellers that just don't want to go to market, we, get their permission. We can sometimes blast it to our sphere through there, and we've got everybody segmented into their different buy boxes. And it's allowed us to do a lot of things that, we otherwise wouldn't have been able to do and make money off of.
Awesome. Have you leveraged ExpressOffers at all as a lead gen tool?
Yeah. I was very excited. I think I first got my ExpressOffers certification back in 2020. Like, it was one of the first things I did with EXP. And so, there's some niche buy boxes on there sometimes. A lot of it is fixer upper type properties, and we're often dealing with larger, turnkey 2 to 4 unit type properties. But I think we submitted one maybe 4 days ago
Right.
that came in as a lead. And we've tried to leverage that as much as we can whenever we get any of the properties that fit the buy boxes of our iBuyers here in Illinois.
Yeah, it seems like and this is just me putting my entrepreneur hat on, but given the type of business that you build, it seems like using Express Offers as a lead funnel tool, saying, "Hey, we have," and I don't know how many investors there are on the back end of Express Offers, but there's obviously a number. And then you've got investors. It seems like between the two, and of course you can certainly throw in other iBuyers in there in the mix, but it feels like that could be a way to drive people into a funnel. Hey, we've got access to all the iBuyers that exist in the marketplace. Plus, we have a X number of additional buyers that aren't even that some of whom will pay more than you will get from one of the other iBuyers. If you want to learn more and you're thinking about selling your home, fill out this form and have it drop into that funnel. It seems like that would be a great way to generate leads. That's what I've always thought of Express Offers is not really the marketplace that we have to build to actually have a legitimate offering, but it's really the front end to be able to generate leads. So have you played with it from that perspective?
Yeah. So, again, admittedly, I'm not the best at marketing, but that has always been a part of our conversation. And that's where, the platform has become something that, of course, I want to make sales on there, but the ability to have a conversation with an investor who, takes a look at their property and says, I don't want this going on the open market because it's so dilapidated that I'm embarrassed. I don't want other people in the neighborhood to see it. Whatever their reasoning, there are people that don't necessarily want to go to the open market, or they want just a cash offer before they test the open market. The ability to tell them, well, I can get you, potentially cash offers in the next 24 to 48 hours if you give me permission because of this platform that we have available to us. And now if it doesn't work out, then, we'd love to talk further about potentially getting this listed on the open market or sending it to our buyer list. And so we've done that on a number of occasions. I've got tons of properties that I've submitted, into ExpressOffers, and, there's not always going to be a fit for everybody. Some of the iBuyers are busy with other projects and they're not available, to purchase certain properties, or it just doesn't fit for them for whatever reason. But it's a way to get a foot in the door a lot of times. And so even though I haven't, specifically advertised it, every single time I have a conversation with an investor, a seller that has a property that fits the buy boxes in there, that is one of the things that I'm able to offer them just because EXP has it as an offering here.
Right. One of the other things that we have, and I need to go back and revisit it with the team because I know that it's changed some of its focus over the years. But one of the things that we had investors on the back end and actually putting in their buy boxes on the platform. And then anytime somebody bought a property on the back end, whoever brought that investor in, no matter where the deal got sourced, there'd be a little bit of compensation for basically adding more investors to the back end of ExpressOffers. So it sounds like you've got a lot of investors, just something to think about and explore, and certainly ping me offline if you need some help kind of working through that.
Yeah, and that's something that I've talked to Dawn about actually in the past. I've always thought it was a great idea. I know that initially, because of the platform, and the way that it needed to be built, there were thresholds for, the amount of capital required and all of that. But I think there's a ton of further potential in that platform that are in there that, maybe do 2-3 deals a year, but would absolutely buy a lot of the stuff that, some of the bigger buyers just don't have the capability for, or the margins don't work for them because they need 60% and the smaller buyer only needs a 70-80%, LTV on it. There's so much potential there that about that program so many times over the last few years, and thought, there's so many more people I would love to have on there.
Awesome. Well, obviously you've been successful. You've knocked it out of the park. You went from investor to running one of the larger teams, certainly in your market, if not all of EXP. And you've done it in a short period of time. What would be a piece of advice that you would give to an agent that says that maybe that's their jam? What would be some advice that you would give them to help them scale their business to potentially become an icon themselves?
I think there's two things that I would absolutely tell them. One, your mentor, EXP University, wherever it is, you can learn to become an agent, but the knowledge that you have, if you've legitimately been an investor for years, is going to carry a lot of weight. There's going to be a learning curve, how to write contracts, how to take out clients, how to, do some negotiation with other realtors, but there's so much of that stuff that they've already done that they can learn pretty quickly. And I think that allows them to get into a market where they can better advocate for other investors than, somebody who maybe has never invested, but, has been an agent for a couple of years and has read some books on it. So that would be, and you just need to learn to become an agent because you can mentor these people read in books. And then the other thing that I would tell them is, even though they're an investor, or whether you're an investor or not, never say no. I think that's super important. I've said yes to everything that I've done. I've done deals, in the multi-millions this year. I also closed a $9,999 deal that I did personally. I didn't even hand off to a team member. I think that if you can just say yes to everything, no matter what source it comes from, whether it's a referral, whether it's a, back end paid, referral service, whether it's, a friend of a friend, just say yes to everything. And when I got too busy to handle all of the yeses by myself, that's when I started a team, and I've continued to expand the team because I say yes to everything, and I want to make sure I have people in place to when I take on. But there's nobody that I'm not willing to help. I think everybody should be helped if they have an interest in real estate, or if they have a need in real estate. And there's always going to be a way for you to handle all of those, as long as it's within your knowledge base. If you don't work with investors, don't say yes to investors, but learn
Right.
to work with investors. But yeah, I would say
So,
that's my biggest thing.
so your default answer is yes or yes.
Yes, yes, or yes. Yeah. So somebody on the team will say yes after I say yes. We will always help.
There you go. Well, good stuff. Well, Michael, thank you so much for jumping on. Sounds like you love to connect with agents. You're mentoring them. You're helping them. How would somebody get connected with you if they wanted to just ask a question or check in, etc.?
If you're with EXP, I'm Workplace Messenger, Michael Scanlon Realtor on Instagram. My EXP email, michael.scanlon@exprealty.com.
Awesome, good stuff, Michael. Thanks again for jumping on, and thanks everyone for listening. I know this was inspirational for me just to hear how Michael's knocked out of the park, and hopefully it was for you. And until the next podcast, thanks for listening.